Hello YouTube, this is Sam Gerrans from Qur'anite.com. Today is Wednesday the 12th of January 2022 and I'm going to push on with these remaining surahs between 50 and 114. And today we're looking at Surah 92, so we'll just jump straight into it. By the night when it covers, and by the day when it shines forth, and by him that created the male and the female. Right, we'll stop there, as I'm sure everyone who's watched this series knows I'm going to say. What I'm going to say is the same thing I say every time there's an oath. Mainly, in fact I would say almost entirely, the oaths in the Qur'an are concentrated very heavily in this section between 50 and 114. If you want to know why I'm interested in this particular segment of the Qur'an, you will need to read my work on the mysterious letters, which you can find as Article 2 at the back of both my main pieces of work, the Qur'an, A Complete Revelation, and the God Protocol. But even without that, the other thing I'm going to say, which I always say when we get to an oath, is the oath is there for a reason. It's not just, oh, this thing over here and now we're going to talk about something else. Especially the openings of any surah in the Qur'an indicate what that surah is about. I know that we've the traditionalist has somewhat imposed upon people to see the Qur'an in this very fragmented way, but it's not how it works. It really isn't. And the opening verses, as I say, especially to any surah that is more than about 3 or 4 or 5 verses long, is setting up the theme for that surah. Excuse me. So here what we have is by the night when it covers, and by the day when it shines forth. Night and day, okay, opposites. And unfortunately an awful lot of this is lost due to the fact that until recently, although it is changing somewhat, I have noticed, because people have been sending me links to other people's work and saying, what do I think of this? Up until recently, people from a traditionalist background didn't do pan-textual analysis. Now it's happening. That's great, and it would be nice if there was some sort of accreditation for where this came from, but you know, we can't have everything. People are now beginning to do this, which is fantastic. All that to say that the night and the day, part of one of the many problems that the traditionalist has is that well, I wouldn't know where to start really on that subject. There's a whole stock of them. But one of them is that Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, this opening sentence to the Qur'an, to Al-Fatiha and to the Qur'an itself, what's happened is it's been turned into a feminizing, I know, strangely, cult. God, the merciful, the entirely merciful, the superlatively merciful. It's not what it means. Ar-Rahman on a pan-textual basis means what it means. It means almighty, and it's the sun and the moon. You see, it's from a hermeneutical point of view, from a hermetic point of view, it's setting up these polarities. Starting off with Bismillah, in the name of God, the God. Ar-Rahman, Ar-Rahim, the Almighty, the Merciful. You see, it's these two, starting with the, as it were, the monad, going into the dual. I don't hit these points. I haven't, through any of my work on up to this point, really concentrated on this, because I don't want to get esoteric on people. But if you really, this is true, and if you want to know why this is the case, if you look at my work, if you go to reader.qur'anite.com and just go to, you know, Surah 1, verse 1, it'll give you all this stuff. It's all there. Anyway, if you don't get that, if you miss that, and you're going into a scenario really not understanding the polarity, then this sort of thing is really difficult to get. But it's not difficult to get when you've, you know, done this initial work. So it's by the night when it covers, and by the day when it shines forth. So you're starting with the feminine, the night. You know, what do you see in the night? You see the moon, and the day when it shines forth. So night and day, okay, polarities. which you would get to, which you do get to, when you understand that Ar-Rahman is Almighty. And that is just demonstrable on a pantextual basis. If you go through all of the, as I have done, if you go through every single instance of this word in the Qur'an, there are cases where, and you'll find them in my work, where it's quite clear that, for example, Maryam is talking to the messenger or angel who's come to her, and she says, "Do you not fear Ar-Rahman? What do you not, the Almighty, the Merciful?" It just doesn't make any sense. It only makes sense in this case. Anyway, all that to say, if you've picked up these basics, then when you get to this sort of place, it's very simple. By the night, when it covers. So this is the Rahim idea, the merciful, the feminine, as it were, quality of mercy. And the day when it shines forth, this is the masculine, the virile, the dominant. This is Ar-Rahman. These two aspects, okay? And by him that created the male and the female. You see, here we go. You see how easy it gets once you've got some of the basics in place. So it's setting up these polarities, these opposites. Your efforts are diverse. Yes, they are. And now he's going to tell you why they're diverse. As for him who gives and is in prudent fear and confirms the best, excuse me, we will ease him towards ease. Okay, so your efforts are diverse. Here's one, here's column A. That's column A. And, excuse me, as for him who is miserly and self-sufficient and denies the best, and by the best, what we mean is the best reward in the hereafter, we will ease him towards hardship. And it says, and his wealth will not avail him when he falls. So you remember in one of the recent surahs, and set before you the two highways. These are the two highways, as it were. Upon us is the guidance, and upon us belong the latter and the former. I'm just looking at my notes because I've got some stuff from reader.qur'anite.com, just with some of my notes on the screen, so I can just hit these points without having to write loads of stuff. By the way, my personal handwriting is almost illegible, so that's another reason why I do it that way. To us belong the latter and the former, or literally the hereafter and this life, the temporal life, the first life. So I have warned you of a raging fire in which burns only the most wretched. And I'll come back to this, but really I wanted to set this up. You've got the night when it covers, the day when it shines forth, this opposition, this opposition. And by him that created the male and the female. So who created them? The one God created the male and the female. Of course, today when we're living in a degenerate and depraved and deteriorating, collapsing society, and moving forward, when I got through what I'm kind of, let's put it another way, people who follow my work and watch a lot of it will probably get that what I'm doing is mopping up at this point. I'm going to make a bit of an aside, and what I did was my entire focus up to a certain point was the God protocol, and we were, thank God, able to execute on that over the summer. I thought, quite frankly, that this would be it. I thought, okay, I haven't really got anything else to do. Clearly, my ideas are getting out there. I can see that that's happening. As I say, not that they give you any credit for it, but that is happening, and that's good. But I hadn't finished, and there were a couple of things that I wanted to do. So I'm going to make sort of more of a sort of complete video on this at some point. But right now, what I'm doing is I want to finish these surahs between 50 and 114, as however many of them left. I want to finish recording the God protocol onto audio, which, if you haven't recorded entire books onto audio, it just takes a long time. There's lots of editing. It's just a tedious process. And I want to finish and present this last piece of work to do with the mysterious letters, which is really a why, what they're for. Because now I know what they are and can demonstrate it. I now know what they're actually for, what they do, apart from how they fit together. And I want to present that and make that available. Once that's done, I don't think I got anything else specifically on this that I want to do. I will continue my research. I will continue to write. I will continue perhaps to present on this. This is my channel. It's called Sam Gerrans. So, okay. But my focus is going to be a little bit different and a little bit wider and a little bit more. It's going to continue with the Qur'an. But just to be kind of frank about it, my plan was never to. My ambition was never really to get involved primarily in the quote-unquote Islamic world. What I can see that is happening with one individual in particular who's using a dumbed down version of my stuff, my ideas, and just presenting it as his own. He's not saying Sam Gerrans did this work. He's just building up a big following and all of that. That's okay. It is actually theft, actually, not to give credit where it's due. It's called stealing. But that's how this world works now. You just have to understand it, and all that to say, I'm not here to, to fight that. God knows the truth of it, and that's all there is to it. I'm not going to be, involved in discussing with, person X my ideas versus person Y. No, I came to solve a problem, and I really feel like I've solved it to my own satisfaction. And I'm going to be moving on. I will continue this channel, but it's not going to be only about the Quran. I'm going to move on to studying and looking at new ideas, new things, because when you finished, you finished. And getting back to my main point, and I wasn't going to do this, but this is turning into sort of an impromptu sort of announcement. In the summer, when we executed on the God protocol, and if you don't know what that is, you're going to have to look on my channel and find out. I'm not going to go into it now. I really felt like, okay, that's it then. But I kind of felt somewhere that there was something left, and I know what it was. These last few periods of fasting that I and others have done over the 10 days a month over the last 3 months. I got it now. I understand. I got the remaining bits and pieces. But when that's done, I'm done with this. I'm not just going to kind of discuss, my ideas ad infinitum. People are going to take them. Okay, let them take them. If they're going to just pretend they're this, okay, let them do it. Who cares? I'm interested in new things now. Obviously, the God protocol is. I'm waiting as they are waiting. That's a given. But I'm not going to sit around and do nothing while I'm waiting. I'm going to stay busy. So all that to say is that once I finish these and the God protocol, reading it onto audio and putting that on YouTube for people to get. And what was the other thing? Oh yeah, pulling this last part of my work on the muqaṭṭaʿāt, on the mysterious letters, in place and making that available as a PDF. At that point, my focus on this work and demonstrating that work is done. And really what this has all been about is, rather than what I see with this particular individual who's really just, as I say, using a demo version of what I've done, what he's doing, and the reason why he's building up quite a large following. I mean, I watched one or two of his videos. I thought he's going to say it in a minute. He's going to say, Sam Gerrans is, he didn't say it, just is the reason why a lot of people like him. And he's risking, I understand, he's risking himself because he's making himself more of a target. And the reason he's making himself more of a target than I have been in my work is because he understands the cultural Muslim mentality. And what he's doing is he's giving people the answer. This is the answer. This is the answer. So what he's doing is giving you another fish rather than teaching you to fish. What I've been trying to do is teach people to fish, and clearly he's learned how to do it. And he's getting what he's getting for that. So, and the reason why he's being attacked, and he's being attacked, I'm not going to discuss who he is or any of this. It doesn't matter. If it weren't him, it'd be someone else. It probably will be someone else. So what? The reason why he's being attacked is because the mainstream traditionalist Islamist understands that this guy, unlike me, is a threat to him because he's moving into the mullah ground. You see, I've never done that. I've absolutely refused to do that on many reasons, and the reason is because that isn't the point. The point is learning how to use this methodology. So what he's doing is, he's moving into, like, I'm now the replacement mullah position. So, which will be popular. I get it. I understand that. Unfortunately for this individual, there's a thing called timestamps, and all my work has been consistently over the last 5-6 years. His channel has been on 6 months, something like that, and so, and he's he's got an academic background, so he understands intellectual property. You get some people steal your stuff, and they're just they're just not very well educated. This guy's educated. He understands what intellectual theft is, but he doesn't seem to understand that in the future, if there is going to be a future and people write up what's been happening over this period, he's going to be the guy who stole somebody's stuff and didn't say whose it was, which is an invidious position to be in. And also, it's not like he's not risking anything. He's risking stuff because they're gonna go for him in a way they won't go for me, because they'll realise that Sam Gerrans doesn't want to be a mullah. I'm not moving in on their territory on what really matters to them, and what really matters to them is control over people's minds. I'm not interested in that. I'm interested in doing my due diligence. Anyway, all that to say, in a way, seeing this, because I was sent quite a lot of these videos before. People said, "What do you think of him? What do you think of him? What do you think?" I don't really have time. I was really busy, so I sort of had a quick skim through. Didn't really pay a lot of attention, but I had a look today, and I thought, this guy's just taking my stuff. He's literally just using my methodology, which is great. It's actually fantastic. It's what I want. But you'd think that there'd be some mention. Maybe I missed it. Maybe he has a video saying, thanks Sam Gerrans for this. I didn't see it. What I saw was a man who was clearly enjoying what's going on. I'm not here to fight that. I'm not going to get into it. People are what they are. We're all going to God. That's just the way I see it. For me, I'm going to move on now. I've finished this work, and I know that I have. And it will take a while to percolate through if there's going to be any sort of future. But I'm not going to hear kind of holding on to the ball saying, this is my ball, isn't it? I don't care about any of that. I'm really interested in what I'm going to be doing next. It is related to this in some ways, because the Qur'an is from God and it is the truth, but it's not the only thing that I'm interested in. In fact, the reason I can do this work is because I have a much broader range of interests and had a background in all kinds of other things that I could apply to this. All that to say, you've got the night and the day and these sorts of things that I haven't got into what you might call the hermetic questions and more esoteric questions and so on. There are things that interest me, and I've spent the last 8 years mainly bean counting. I mean, obviously it's a creative process as well, but in the few occasions when people like help, typically you get somebody, they come along and they're really enthusiastic and they say, can I help you? Can I, you say, yeah, could you check this or just go over there? And they find it's really boring. I've got a young man doing some now, and bless him, he's doing some typo spotting. And, he said, this is really hard. It's really boring. I said, yeah, welcome to my world. That's what 80% of it is. It's mainly that. And, if you want to see the result of it, you go to reader.qur'anite.com. You have no idea how much spade work just goes into it. And I'm really glad it's there. But as I say, when I get to the end of these jobs, these core jobs, I'm not going to... What's left? Well, making YouTube videos to entertain people, I'm not going to do that. Just for the sake of it. Or getting into some sort of debate with people where, you took my work or blah, blah, blah. And, I can't be bothered. And anyway, I'm glad the ideas are getting out there. It would be nice if people just acknowledge where they came from. But there you are. But me, I'm moving on to the next thing, because I'm just interested in solving problems. I'm really not interested in sort of anything else other than that. All this to say, and this is a long aside, but I'm kind of preparing the ground. People who watch a lot of my stuff will understand what I'm doing. I'm mopping up now. And at the end of this batch of stuff, however long it takes, these, 20 surahs left to do, and, some more reading, and then just putting this thing together and publishing that. That's it. I'm not going to be continuing to do this forever, because I've got other things I want to do. I wanted to warn the elite. We've established the God protocol. I'm waiting. I'm with them waiting. But I'm not a Jehovah's Witness. It's not just because I think it's the end of the world. I'm going to sit around doing nothing. No, I'm going to do more, because I think it's, quite likely, we're living at the end of what the Hindus call Kali Yuga, the Dark Age. That's my opinion. And I'm going to get into subjects related to that, in some ways related to the Qur'an, but also not. What I'm not going to do is get into one-to-one kind of stone flinging matches about, who took my work, who took my work. What? I don't care about that. What I've tried to do is to teach how to fish rather than just give the fish. But I do understand that the mentality is such that for a lot of people, they don't want to think. And what they really want. All right. When I was a student, I was once I was an extra in a film, just day's work, whatever. And I remember one of the directions this guy gave me. He said, "Oh, you should do it again." He said, "I want it the same but different." I said, "Oh, you want it the same but different?" He said, "Yeah, the same, just different." This, in my view, is what a lot of people from a traditionalist background want. That's what they want. They want the same, but they want it different. And I haven't done that. I've been very, very, very clear. I'm not going to be anybody's mullah. I'm not going to do it. It's not my job. But clearly, it's not a what's the word I'm looking for? It's not a popular position. And I've been here for 6-7 years on YouTube. I've got less than 10,000 subscribers. I clearly don't really care about the popularity side of things. Anyway, all this to say is I will make later on a kind of a summary of what's been done, what's been achieved, what the outcomes are, where we are, and then what I think I'm going to be doing next, as regards this channel. And there will be a Quranic content quotient to it, but it's going to evolve, and I'm just basically giving people a heads up on that. And in a way, perhaps I wasn't planning on doing this right now, but it's been in my mind today, and I'm just going to get this out there. And this surah, getting back to the surah in hand, has provided me with something of an occasion for that, because we have the night and the day. We have your efforts are diverse, and one sees that all over the place. Another thing I've noticed as well is, because I keep my sort of finger on the pulse of what's going on in some areas of Christian polemics. And I think that the lockdown has had a real effect on people. The Christians are, not all of them, but quite a lot of them are just punching each other and pulling each other's eyes out and so on. I think it's because they're kind of stuck for something to do. They've got all these extra energies, got nowhere to go. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to respond in the comments below. If you say, "Oh, is it this person or is it that person?" It doesn't matter who it is that I've been talking about. What matters is that, firstly, these things are getting out there and people are using them. That's great. In a way, this particular individual is using he's using a demo version, dumbed down version of what I've done, and giving no credit for it whatsoever. But it appeals to people because he's giving them very simple answers, rather than he's giving them a different fish, the same but different. But what he's not doing is teaching them how to fish. He's got his own reasons for that. I'm not interested in any of that. That's just how life works. But what I'm trying to kind of get to is, when I finish these jobs, if I was just interested in a career in being a Quran alone personality or something, then that would be the next step, would be to kind of take these guys on and debate. But let me ask you, how many times have you, because people say you should debate. I do interviews. I've done 1 or 2 interviews, and I would consider interviews, because interviews are different. But this debating thing, what's the point of it? It's like online debates. Who ever changed their their view from an online debate. I don't know any. I've never changed my point of view. What it really is like it's really just a form of that sort of theatrical wrestling. And if you're good at rhetoric, you're good at these kind of tricks that people use. You can seem to win points and all the rest of it. It doesn't really change anything. What changes things and it's not even what changes things is not YouTube stuff. It's not what changes things. What changes things is written word. That's what changes things. It's books. Because seeming clever on YouTube is quite easy, because the people often don't have enough of a background really to weigh what you're asserting. But if you put it in writing and you present all of your evidence, or as we have, when I say we, I'm talking about myself and Brother Said Mirza, because he made that site of reader.qur'anite.com, where the Qur'an, a complete revelation, is housed and can be accessed with all the notes right there. Here's all the working out. You're showing people everything. That's completely different. Now, being able to seem quite, clever and impressive, as it were, like a quick juggling act, in one place, that's easy. But when you commit yourself to paper, other people like me will come along and go through it. It's people who really, really, really know it really, really well. And then you can pull it apart if that's what you're into. I'm not, but I am still very interested in a lot of stuff, in some ways related to the Qur'an, but not primarily. They are related to the Qur'an, but within a bigger context. And from my point of view, and I'm going on about this a long time, I apologize that, but I'm trying to get, while I'm hitting this point, when you've finished doing something, then you finished that. I can't explain how to fish any more than I have already done. And I can't demonstrate how to do it any more than I'm not going to, any more than I have between these surahs of 50 and 114. And at that point, you're really just, you've kind of, you've done it this way, you've done it that way, you've sort of passing the ball over your head, between your legs, throwing it off the wall. How many more times can you do it? I suppose you could carry on, but there isn't any point. And I don't want to just go into kind of like fighting with, infighting or whatever it is and all of this. Who really cares about any of that? I've got new mountains to climb. I've got things I'm really genuinely interested in. And if I feel there's an appetite for it, I will share some of that on here. Or share it, just talk about those things, and they will relate to the Qur'an. But what I'm not going to do is fight a sort of sectarian position or try to kind of defend what I've done and say, I came up with this first. Who cares? Nobody cares. But this particular individual, he's got a higher academic degree. He knows what he's doing. Other people, you could say, okay, they're just basically uneducated. They don't understand. He knows. So anyway, we've got the polarity of different types of people. Your efforts are diverse, yes, aren't they just? So we're going to move forward from there. So that's 14. So I have warned you of a raging fire in which burns only the most wretched, who denied and turned away. And the most prudent in fear will be kept from it, who gives his wealth to purify himself, and not that any have a favour to be rewarded. And this can also be translated, not in order, or i.e. not in order that the recipient should owe him a favour. So, he gave it for that reason, rather than, sort of holding on to it. You get people, they kind of give you something, but they're sort of got a piece of elastic tied to this thing. Only seeking the face of his Lord, the Most High, and he will be satisfied. Well, I trust that this is the case. And, if you give, there are different ways of giving. And, you should give and just let it be a gift. And financial giving is one of the easiest, actually. letting things be, sort of giving things, because when you've worked on something, you can't help feeling a sense of, it's your baby. You can't help but feel protective of it and possessive of it. You can't help it. It's just natural. And when people come along and sort of just take the baby out of your pram, go, and this, I'm not guessing here. I can prove it because we have everything's time stamped. It's a little bit insulting and a little bit, but galling. But you just have to let it go. You have to let it go. These two are the days that we're living in. We're living in a time when people just steal. Basically, that's what they do, and they don't even notice that that's what they're doing. But in this case, this person does know because, as I say, they have a higher academic career. They know what intellectual, you're supposed to give reasonable attribution to the ideas, other people's ideas that you use. And whereas, somebody with no background, you could understand that they didn't understand that. And you get those people too. This particular individual, he definitely understands it because he's got a PhD. Of course he knows it. So anyway, all that to say, I'm really setting up here the picture moving forward because I am going to change the emphasis of what I'm doing. And as that happens, some people who have been supporting me, they may decide, you know what, Sam Gerrans is not doing now the same focus as what he was doing before with the same intensity. I don't want to support him anymore for whatever reason. Okay, don't. That's fine. But thank you so much for what you've done so far. But what I'm not going to do is continue to do something that really is reaching its conclusion just because people are used to that and because people support and all the rest of it. It's never been about money for me. I'm not interested. I mean, the support has been phenomenal, and in the sense that it's allowed me to focus on this full time. But when you're drawing towards the end of something, and that's what's happening now over the next whatever it takes, couple of months to mop up these things that are left, then you will see that I am shifting to a new focus. And if you get to a point where that you think, Sam Gerrans was talking about this and now he's talking about these other things instead of those things as a main focus, then you should stop supporting. And thank you very much for helping us to get this part done. But I'm not going to just carry on because people support. No, that's never ever been what this is about. It's been about solving problems, and I think I've solved them. Certainly to my own personal satisfaction, and shared those with other people and showing them that this is how you do it, or at least as well as I can. At least here in this arena, where people will watch. Maybe they'll watch for 20 minutes, 15 minutes, 10 minutes. Maybe some people 30, 40 minutes. Trying to kind of give them. I haven't done it so much in this one, but a kind of a sense of what goes on, so that when they go to the written word, the stuff that's written down, they can have some sort of access to what's happening there. And then there'll be a very small amount of people who will then really study that and understand it, and then take it forward and do something with it, rather than just dumbing it down and passing it off as their own. There will be those people too, and I accept that. But there will be those who will really get to the technology, as it were, that's behind this, and improve it and get better results than I've managed to achieve working on my own. If and when that happens, I'm only going to be pleased. That's fantastic. So all that to say, over the next couple of months, you'll see as we get closer to the end of this period of things, I'm going to be making more announcements of this kind of type, and sort of, I don't know, in some ways preparing people for a shift in my focus. I'm going to have to say it more than once. Not everybody watches everything that comes out. I won't probably make a lot of announcements as long as this, but I will make one video in a couple of months, whenever it is, when we get to that. Anyway, that's not what I was really going to talk about, but I've decided to put this out there at this time. I want to say a peace and blessings to all those people who kept the last fast with me over the last 10 days. For me, finished here. Yesterday was the last day of it. I hope that you found these fasts as beneficial as I have. I can't say it was what I thought I would get, but I've had very interesting breakthroughs in a number of areas through this. It's certainly true that it says that God, in those verses where it mentions fasting and Ramadan, we're not going to get into what that may or may not be right now, but it's quite clear that the way the word order works is that, is that fasting is a way of drawing close to God, and it really is. If it's done right, otherwise it's just being hungry and irritable for no reason, isn't it? Anyway, I'm going to drop this now at this point. I hope everyone is well. And what you will see is over the next couple of months is that I'm doing what I've just said now, is that I'm just hopefully continuing to do what I've already been doing, which is kind of doing these types of videos. I'm still recording the God protocol. I'm going through an extremely long chapter at the moment. It just takes an awful long time. And you'll see that I'm just kind of working through a checklist. And then there's one last thing with this last long piece of work which will go in front of my existing work on the mysterious letters. And then that'll be the end of it. We've already warned the elite. I'm waiting as they are waiting, but I'm not going to sort of just keep doing this as a sort of form of entertainment or something, because I'm not interested in it. And that's just the short answer. Anyway, I hope everyone is well, and that's all for now. If you're listening on YouTube, you can download my full translation of the Qur'an and all other work free using the button in the top right hand corner, or buy the hard copy there at 10% less than on Amazon. You can download the audio from my YouTube videos to your mobile device using the links in the drop down below. I recommend meetquranites.com to connect with other Qur'an alone believers. Like if you like, comment if you have something constructive to say, and subscribe to get more each week. And use the link in the drop down below to donate if you would like to help me keep doing this. And remember, this life is short. Eternity is long. If you want good trees, plant good seeds.